Greece has suspended international airmail for 48 hours after more than 10 suspicious packages were sent to targets in Greece and across Europe. The packages were sent to embassies in Athens, international organizations, and European leaders, including Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. Now, to discuss what new elements have surfaced in relation to the Parcel Bombs, we are joined on the line by Ioannis Michaletos, an analyst with the World Security Network Foundation. Good afternoon, Mr. Michaletos. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Once again, thank you for joining us. Now, what new elements have surfaced in relation to these incidents, to the Parcel Bombs?
Well, the most important element is that for the first time in the Greek history of domestic terrorism, terrorists internationalize their actions to a maximum extent, and also for the first time they try, at least in theory, to assassinate foreign leaders. Namely, for the time being, we have Sarkozy, Merkel, and the latest news indicates that there is a parcel bomb that was heading towards Berlusconi's office in Rome, in Italy. So that's the first time this is happening from a Greek terrorist group that didn't have any kind of operational capabilities, at least in practice, to do this. And that shows that this particular group or this particular network of terrorists are trying to make the issue of the Greek domestic terrorism an international issue. So, in a sense, they're trying to copy the mentality of networks such as Al-Qaeda. They seem to be willing to make a global impact of their actions.
And how will this help them in what they're trying to achieve? This publicity on a global scale, I'm saying.
Well, most probably they're trying, it seems, to take advantage of the current situation in Greece and in Europe, in light of the economic and debt crisis, in light also of the upcoming elections in Greece, which are going to be very crucial, in light of the restrictive financial measures that most European governments are taking right now, wage cuts and so on. So there's likely a possibility that, first of all, they imported the know-how of the parcel bombings from their comrades in other European states, and they're using this know-how in order to show to the European and to the global community that they are willing to fight against the establishment as they see it and stage more spectacular attacks in the future.
Now, mail has been stopped for 48 hours. Will this help control the transfer of parcels for the time being, at least?
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, this is the only way to make sure that no other parcel bombs will be sent to international organizations or leaders or any other kind of target. There's also a very big mobilization of security forces in Greece. There are a lot of stop and search across Athens, as far as I can tell. That means that the Greek security forces mobilized fast in order to avoid a second or a third wave of parcel bombing attacks. But of course, the issue remains that if the heads or the controllers of such terrorist networks are not apprehended, most probably they will stage further attacks, either through parcel bombings or with other mechanisms that have been used.
They haven't been apprehended yet because they cannot find them, or there's no political will to do so?
I think they cannot find them because it's not so easy if you're dealing with a network of people, especially if this network is composed by interlinked smaller networks or smaller nucleus of terrorists or radicals. And if it's spread across Europe, for instance, one nucleus, let's say, for example, in Italy, trains for the use of parcel bombing, another nucleus in another country makes sure of the logistics and the money transfer for all these kind of operations, and another nucleus in Athens actually places the parcels and sends them. It's not so easy if you don't have a very thorough international cooperation and a very thorough investigation that will span across different countries and different networks. And this is not so easy to be done in a short time, at least.
Now, the terrorist group, the Conspiracy of the Cells of Fire, is suspected of carrying out the campaign by the police. I assume this has been put forward. Do you agree with this?
Well, for the time being, one of them was a fugitive. There was a warrant for arrest since late 2009. The 22-year-old that was arrested along with his fellow. So he was a member of this group because his fingertips were found in the safe house where other members of this group were arrested last year. So the evidence showed that at least this group took the responsibility of sending the parcels. That doesn't mean, of course, that they are the ones that had the know-how to place the bombs in the parcels and make all these necessary arrangements. But at least these are the ones that took responsibility of sending the parcels.
Now, based on your experience and know-how, and now that you have more information at hand, should more terrorist action be expected in the very near future?
Well, I can say through previous conversations we had with you in the station, that as long as the heads, or at least the controllers of these networks are not apprehended, there are always going to be more attacks, because the terrorists, the raison d'etre is to stage continuous attacks in order to remain in publicity. I mean, there's no case that a terrorist network will cease to operate without any pressure from outside, or if there's not any internal divisions. Otherwise, it will remain staging attacks through a variety of means, either parcel bombings or pipe bombings or pistols, rocket launchers, whatever they have in their disposal. This is what's happening in every country in the world, that where the heads of the terrorist groups are not apprehended. They just continue, evolve. In certain cases, they merge with each other, and they create an even bigger adversary against the society and the security forces.
Do you think that the state is doing enough to find these people?
Well, in general, the security mentality in Greece is much different than it is in other countries, but that doesn't mean that the police is not able to apprehend the heads. They just need to have 100% backup by all political forces, and of course to modernize the way that they are viewing the modern terrorist threat. Because right now in Greece we have a second generation of terrorists which do not resemble with the November 17th group, which was a closed circuit group operating under tight conspiracy methods. The second generation of terrorists are much more involved, and they have international exposure and connections, of course. So that makes the police work far more difficult, and they need to give, from what it seems, more emphasis in international investigations, cooperation, and analysis. Otherwise, it will be difficult to investigate the whole of the network.